Celebrity Book Club. Who's that knocking at the door? It's all your friends, you filthy whore. Your husband's gone and we've got books and a bottle of wine to kill.
It's Hollywood.
It's books.
It's gossip.
I'm shook.
It's memoirs.
It's martinis.
It's Studio 54.
It's Celebrity Book Club.
Come read it while it's hot.
Celebrity Book Club.
Tell your secrets, we won't talk.
Celebrity Book Club.
No boys are allowed.
Celebrity Book Club.
Say it loud and proud.
Celebrity Book Club.
Buzz me in, I brought the Cuervo.
Hey, best friend.
Hey, best friend.
How is my dog doing today?
Oh, golly gee, Willikers. I am doing honestly okay. How are you?
Thanks for checking in. No, it's been a really rough week with the invasion of Ukraine. And, I know everyone has a lot on their plate, especially podcasters. And so thank you for asking how I am, because it has been tough, sweetheart.
Okay, so yeah, we read an epic book this week.
A newly topical book as of a few months ago, I guess.
Last May, I believe.
Oh, was it really that while ago? Yeah.
Well, because I went to... Okay, so we read DMX's memoir, E.A.R.L, the Autobiography of DMX, as told to Smokey D. Fontaine.
Love.
Which is such an amazing name.
Love when a ghost written is an as told to. Because
Well,
it's almost more honest.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Mine mouth.
Rather than like, with, or like something.
It's always
like,
a with.
Yeah, it's absolutely as told to Smokey D. Fontaine.
I know. It's like, let's drop the ruse that DMX and Smokey D are like side by side at their laptops. Click,
Google docking it up.
No, they're in the same Google Doc. Like, let's just drop that charade.
I feel like it was all as told to on one weekend in Phoenix.
Yeah, because it keeps coming back to this just like wild drive in the Arizona desert, rattlesnakes, dogs.
And then present day DMX like sitting in his car being like, oh, this is all I asked for, but also like fame is crazy. And like he can only get solace like sitting in his car in like a parking lot in Phoenix, which also same.
It's very country music to just be like, it's only the open road for me.
Which, to bring up Blasey again, I feel like in this book, Smokey D. Fontaine is like, oh, Phoenix hadn't really seen any celebrities besides like a few like golf players and maybe some athletes. But in Rosa Blasey's book, she says the best place to look for celebrity athletes is
Phoenix. Like the Phoenix airport and like various Ruth Chris's steakhouse in Phoenix.
Right, Ruth Chris's. But I guess they hadn't seen someone to the stature of fame as DMX.
Yeah, and maybe it's also like, I don't know, I mean, this book was written about 2000, so I think like Phoenix is one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in the country, and I think over the past 10 years it's expanded quite a lot, become much more of a destination year-round.
And an investment,
yes.
Because we both have investments and
we own fractional shares in several homes in the greater Phoenix area.
And we'll be talking more about arrived homes and our investments
in the VIP lounge. You'll learn all about how to become a fractional landlord in fast-growing metropolitan areas.
Raleigh, Durham.
So in this book is also, so again, it's called E.A.R.L. And I'm sorry, I can't quite get to the cover because I read this on an iPad because since my book did not arrive in time, I did have to download a pirated copy from a Russian book website in honor of the Ukrainian invasion.
Ah, okay.
And it does, the website is dmxworld.ru.
Now we know where you stand. Not cool, Stephen.
I looked for Ukrainian
cool.
pirated DMX websites and there weren't any. Okay, I tried.
This is very those tweets that are like, do not shame an old woman when you're getting pierogies, like right now, because when you go to Brighton Beach for food, like don't shame your storekeeper.
Yeah, I saw you signal boost that into my TL. Thank you so much, Lil.
You know, I'm a big supporter of Brighton Beach
I know you
small
are.
restaurants. So, food adventure life. Okay, so the cover of this book is DMX kind of hugging himself in that way when you can pretend you're making out with yourself as like a physical gag.
Love a good physical gag. Yeah, he's definitely, and I'm sure that was the intention of the photo shoot.
Yeah, he was like, I want to look like I'm making out with myself.
It's in that kind of like sepia tone that was big in, I want to say, hip hop photo shoots in the late 90s.
Yeah.
You disagree.
And also, I'm just like, sure, I guess.
The kind of reddish sepia, I don't know. I don't think that you really see this. And I think a black and white photo these days, honey, it's just black and white. You know, they're not giving it a tint.
No, they're giving this the tint. And in the book, it has like a lot of fun kind of being a little scrapbooky with like old photos and lyrics. And then we have glossy photos.
I do love. So this book has little scrapbook photos, like every few pages, kind of presented Polaroid style. And you see the inside of the projects, the school, you know, the street corner, the grandma's house. It's like he's showing all the locations and really giving you a visceral sense of the area where he grew up.
My favorite photo in the glossy section of this book, because obviously DMX loves dogs, and we're going to get into that, is his face. I don't know if you have this in your PDF, but his face is like imposed into a dog.
Oh, that is really creepy. Yeah. That's giving the Cats remake movie.
No, it's very Taylor Swift and Cats.
It's very sort of uncanny valley, if we can use that phrase correctly or incorrectly. Yeah, I don't like that. That's making me feel weird.
No, so I got to tell, obviously, DMX, huge influential rapper, died last year. And I walked by, this is so podcaster, I like came across his funeral procession, just like going to a natural wine bar last year. And it was like so many like wheelies and like at Barclays and like 3-piece cars or whatever. And I was so to me just being like, to myself being like, I wish I went me to me thought. I was like, I wish I went to his funeral procession earlier.
But then you were there and you were like, well, now I'm getting natural wine, so I'll just observe.
Well, it was a little like, it was kind of over.
Oh, it was
like,
wrapping up. You saw the kind of the remnants.
The procession leaving.
Okay.
I guess this book depressed me because it ends on like such a spiritual God moment where he's like, I'm married, like I have my kids, like I have my album, like
I know,
and then he's 31, and then he died of like a cocaine.
Well, but he did have like
50.
20 more good years in him after this book was written. So I wouldn't say that it's so sad. It's like, yeah, he had. I mean, what annoyed me about this book was
50 is
50 is young, absolutely, but you do have to remember that those were 50 good years, and we should.
That's true. I don't
them.
have any hit albums yet, and I'm 30 blank.
Right.
So
I do wish that this book had gone a little bit further. So my introduction to DMX, of course. So DMX, for those who don't know, became famous sort of the late 90s. His crew is called the Rough Riders. You may be familiar with the sort of R logo.
90s kids will get it. I mean, I remember me and Deanna just rapping DMX through our private school, middle school halls.
Badass.
Yeah.
Was that so? You were listening to him in middle school?
Middle school. Give a Dog a Bone. I mean,
my introduction to him, I would say, was the Aaliyah Jet Li film "Romeo Must Die," which is, you know, a modern take on the Romeo and Juliet story and some, you know, kind of like West Side Story is in many ways. But the warring gangs are a black gang and a Chinese gang, you know, fighting for waterfront rights. And then Aaliyah and Jet Li have this sort of star-crossed lovers story, although they never even like fuck in the movie or even kiss.
This whole book is much more of like a rise to fame rather than like we're not getting much of his like film work.
No.
The famous movie Belly that he was in, a very influential film. And it's like,
have you seen it?
Even really, I have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it did influence you.
Well, I'm saying I think it influenced like more other filmmakers. I don't know if it influenced me as a hip hop filmmaker. So his mom was a Jehovah's Witness, and it's like, again, Jehovah's Witnesses, such a random religion to me.
Yeah, and she was not very godly with all the beating.
No, she wasn't.
Really, really violent. Yeah, so this book, like many books, lots of abuse in the childhood.
And kind of Sinead style.
He is from Yonkers, which is just outside of New York, for those who don't know. So, I've spent some time in Yonkers, somewhat recently.
Oh, when we went to Pepe's pizza place?
No, I mean, I was there for like one day, for kind of like a memorial service kind of thing. Because, my family friend, like, who died recently, Matten, yeah. He grew up in Yonkers. His family owned like a candy store, like in the 40s or whatever. We did kind of like a walking tour of Yonkers, like see places that he had been, and like went to his old school, which I don't know if it was the school that DMX went to or not. But what was kind of clear from walking around Yonkers is there is very much a tale of two Yonkers, which DMX quite adequately describes in the book, where like you have like a very sort of like clean-cut, upper middle class, white suburbia Yonkers. And then you have the poorer black side of town. And, that segregation still exists to this day. And we see that in urban areas all across the country.
Absolutely. So
anyway, I'm saying like it's the Yonkers of DMX's childhood seems like it's very much still kind of the Yonkers today. Although he does talk about how the waterfront, you could like really get up to no good at the waterfront, and they have very much like Buttigieged the waterfront since.
Wait, are there like high tops?
It was like all parking in high tops and condos and like empty condos and empty high tops.
He mentioned the aqueduct also as like a place where like kids could like run and hide, and the aqueduct has now turned into like where the racetrack is and that casino, Resorts World Casino. And I think it stretches along the water.
Well, hold on. You're thinking of Resorts World Casino by JFK.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking
aqueduct.
about.
Well, don't you think? I mean, we'll have to get a map here, but I feel like the aqueduct does run from there to Yonkers.
I think the aqueduct
like
runs
a
all the way from
waterway?
the Adirondacks or whatever. But I don't think he's talking about that. I don't think he wasn't like walking all the way down to like Queens and like JFK.
Because sometimes he's running for so long, and like him, and I'm just like, how long have you been walking for? I was really impressed by his sense of direction in this book.
Yeah, he definitely does a lot of walking and running. Well, running became an escape for him, literally and figuratively. And then, of course, there's the time when he literally escapes from jail upstate.
Right, and just runs and runs, and his friend is like, okay, stay here, I'll be right back, and then never comes back. And so this family just like takes him in, and then he finds his way home. But they like ran for days.
Which I was very impressed by, and it was very cold upstate. So just back 1 second to his mom being a Jehovah's Witness. So there's one time when he gets hit by a car, and he's like, half the people in the ghetto like got hit, like got in some accident or something, and like got money from it, and just like I was kind of hoping for like my payout. And then like someone came to his house and was like, you could get $10,000 like in wrongful accident injury lawsuit payment from this car accident. And his mom was like, no, we're good because we're Jehovah's Witnesses, so we're not supposed to take things that like we don't get.
Yeah, she was like, he who is like not humble like doesn't take 10K.
And he was just like, are you kidding?
Like, are you kidding me? While he's like sleeping on the floor,
Right.
and then she's like locking him in his room and like only letting him go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're really not well, because Jehovah's don't celebrate birthdays.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, because
Wow.
birthdays are like too braggadocious. My new favorite word.
God, that's rough. That is really
Yeah,
rough.
imagine not having a 30-person dinner.
Yeah, no, I mean, the physical abuse was bad enough, but no birthdays?
No birthdays. Yeah.
That's really rude.
So during all this like alone time, he has like so many spiral journals, and he's writing down rhymes and rhymes and rhymes, which made me think about raw dogging with no headphones, and like how I feel like I did used to journal more as a child.
Mm.
And then now with my phone, he was like, ugh, like I would just walk around Yonkers, and he was like, I would just think so much.
Yeah, the thinking you can do when you're not listening to a goddamn podcast. Yeah, no, I
so
mean,
much thinking.
my boy X was not listening to podcasts, and it shows.
It absolutely shows, because he was coming up with many a rap. So cut to when he's like later in his 20s and like teens and is like trying to get signed. I found it very interesting that Puff Daddy was like, he's too rough and I can't like market him.
Yeah, that
And he
faggot
didn't
Puff
sign-
Daddy was like.
I know, and didn't like sign him at first.
But it also sounds like Diddy was encouraging of him and like really pushed him to be his best and like did believe in him.
Well, he did end up signing him.
Yeah.
So
And this is all alleged or whatever, but I'm sure Diddy was attracted to DMX. He's an attractive man.
he's a very attractive man. And he was very cool with lesbians.
Okay, so yeah. So let's talk about the fact that his aunt was a lesbian. And he was just like, my aunt was a lesbian and I didn't really think that was weird. And then she was always bringing around girlfriends and their girlfriends were always bringing around girlfriends. And there was this like full Albert house going on in his grandma's house. And he was like, they would be like having so many parties when he was 12 and then being like, we're going into the bedroom and like shutting the door and doing grown folks things. And you can just like hang out in the living room.
I know, it was like this full Tampa Bay's like Polly scenario. And he's like, first he was like, my Aunt Verna didn't like take too much crap, if you know what I mean. And then a few paragraphs later, he's like, so she was a lesbian.
Right, no, because he starts out being just like, she was like a sturdy woman or something. He said something and my radar goes off. And then 3 paragraphs later, he's just like, she was a straight up lesbian.
Verna is also a very lesbian name.
Verna, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a nice solidity
Aunt
to
Verna.
it. Verna.
A real hard femme.
So yeah, that's cool. Although he does, there is a lot of references to people taking it up the ass as a negative. And I just will put this out there as a criticism of hip hop. Especially at this time in the lyrics, it seems like you are saying that being a homosexual and specifically being the penetrative receptive partner is bad. And I don't know if I am okay with that.
We get so Diane Keaton and Something's Gotta Give. Jack Nicholson is like listening to hip hop and she's like, I'm sorry, why does every word have to rhyme with bitch?
But he's really creative at coming up with a lot of different words to rhyme with bitch.
So in one of his like first battles, and he's like going to all these Yonkers battles, and it's like he battled this guy, Bill Blass, who I was like obsessed that this guy's name is Bill Blass.
Yeah, no, that stuck out to me. And this was like it was like not this like gay iconic designer. And he was like the biggest man to beat in the town at the time.
Let me see if I have the rhyme. But so this guy just like they're roasting each other, and it's like,
wait, this is the one where he was like, you butt chugger. There was the word butt wasn't in a lot. This is the rhyme you're talking about?
No, this one was he was just so like, your mother's like a bitch and she like sucks my dick and she's ugly.
Oh, yeah. Because sometimes like, I went in for the kill. Like, I decided to get really personal and hit him where it hurt.
No, that was, I love it. He goes, I decided to get really disrespectful.
And it's just like, and then it's just being like, your mother's fat and your sister's ugly and I fucked them both and then I killed them. And you're just like, okay. I mean, I don't know if that actually is that personal, to be honest.
No, but I think the butt chugging one, there was one where he was like, I drilled holes in your ass and like blood is like coming out of it.
What's interesting to think, so he talks a lot about pussy in this book and sort of achieving it, getting it. He does lose his V card at 14 to like a 26-year-old woman who lives in his building. And he was just like, and thinking back, she did take advantage of me, but I was into it. And he's like... And then he's like, and from that moment on, just like I was always trying to get pussy, and sort of like talks about the different ways that you can get pussy. But I do feel like he's never bragging about the size of his member, and I'm like, normal boots,
because
maybe?
I think it's normal boots, and because he talks about when he like went to prison, it was like because it was like low security. He was like, actually the worst part was like getting no pussy because I've been getting it on the regular.
Yeah.
But I feel like I was kind of surprised because sometimes I felt like he was kind of having a dry spell where he was winning all these rap battles, and he was like, yeah, funny enough, I actually wasn't getting pussy from them, and it took him a while to then I think get some more confidence. I see it as when he finally shaved his head.
Yeah,
is when
he definitely found some power in that.
And then his first love is this girl who's from Connecticut,
the Muslim girl.
Yeah,
who he had like a vision of when he was a kid. And by vision, he just
Oh,
like,
no,
saw
no,
her
no, no.
on
This
the
is
street.
before her. He had like a girlfriend from Connecticut who like had a car and they were like inseparable. And he was like, she
and
made
that's
him,
right.
like,
And then like
wait
he
for
like
it.
saw her in Stamford and he was like in line for the club and she was like, wait, why don't we meet up today? And he was like, I was looking for you. And it's kind of like, what is this story about you guys like not,
Well, basically,
not meeting up in Stamford?
He calls her and is like, I'm coming to Stamford. And she's like, okay, sketchy. And so he goes to the mall she works at and she's like, meet me at 9. But I think it's just like he had been in jail for 3 months and she didn't expect him to like show up at the mall.
Right.
So she just doesn't go to meet him. And so he's like pissed. And then they get in a fight outside this club. She's like, well, who would come to Stamford without money anyway?
And he was just like, literally me, I'm into you. She was just like,
Yeah.
weird.
I mean, honestly, it reminds me of the time I went to Stamford to interview for the Jerry Springer show after I was like an intern for them in Chicago. I went to Stamford.
And you had no money in your pocket?
It felt like that. I don't know. I was so like walking from the Metro North and it was like so windy and desolate and a highway. And he is like, damn, Stamford is not like Yonkers. Like it's not walkable.
Yeah.
And then I like left my interview and I was in my H&M suit, dress pants, just being kind of like walking along a semi-sidewalk highway, like getting back on the train. So I did have money, but
You didn't have to
again,
set your pit bull on a grandma to rob her to get back on the train, which he does later do. He trains his dogs to become thieves.
he also, okay, he does train his dog to do like kill raccoons.
And cats, which was
And
really,
cats.
really triggering.
Hard for us as a cat pod.
I mean, as you know, I'm like famously anti-dog and pro-cat. When I'm just reading about him being like, yeah, and then I got my dog to kill these stupid cats. I was just like, well, this. I feel a little bit justified because dogs literally are evil and kill for sport. I mean, cats kill for sport too, but they kill mice and rabbits.
Yeah, and like, yes, last night did my cat try to take the top of the goldfish tank off and get in there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not saying cats aren't sadistic, but I'm just saying they're cute.
Yeah, cats are cuter and they are murderers as well. But yeah, I guess it was sad because then at one point he hangs this cat from a tree to teach his dog how to jump, which I did find kind of funny. Sorry, sick and twisted animal humor, anyone? But then I was like literally just crying on my couch like 2 hours ago because his dog Boomer was his best friend and a van kills his dog.
Well, that's not as traumatizing as his first dog, Blackie, who got murdered by the police. Do you remember the scene where they literally shoot the dog?
Okay, no, I guess I skimmed that part. I mean, the trauma. And then his Boomer, the other dog, he sees literally like flip in the air 10 times over.
And the van just keeps on driving.
Keeps on going.
Horrible.
So.
Wait, okay, speaking of trigger warning, more animal death. Do you remember the scene with the butterfly?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna this will be like the first time you heard it because this was really beautiful. And this actually speaks to, I think DMX is a really beautiful soul and he is very, very emotional and thoughtful. He's been through a lot of trauma in his life and he puts that into his art. So his thing is like he was very, very smart and he was always like doing really well in school, and like that was partly why he was so like badly behaved because he was always like finishing the test before everyone else and then being like, well, I want to like fuck around and like I'm not being challenged enough at my school, and so then I'm gonna start to just like do other shit and throw spitballs, and that sort of like escalated over time to when he like did commit arson at the other school and then was like always getting arrested for robbing. But early on as a child, he finds this like butterfly outside and he's like so excited about it and it's flopping around and he manages to catch it in a jar. And then he like covers it with the lid and then he like has it next to his bed and he's so excited, but it's so beautiful. And it's like Wings of Poppy is like the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. He wakes up the next morning and the butterfly obviously is dead. And he realized that he forgot to like punch holes in the top. So this is him talking about that. I couldn't believe that I'd forgotten to do that because of how excited I was when I caught it, because all I was thinking about was how cool it was to have. I didn't even give that butterfly a chance to live. Now my butterfly was dead. Grandma tried to console me, but I cried and cried. Being selfish, I'd fucked around and killed the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life. Isn't that so poignant?
So beautiful.
I just, I think that part really endeared me to him. And I think it really like cast a beautiful light on all of the stuff he does in the book, because everything is really just like his story, and as aggressive as he is, it's all just like it's all coming from this really hard-won emotion that he's felt and that he's experienced.
Every time I feel like one of the dog deaths happened, he was so just like, oh God, like, is this like Judgment Day and all like the Jehovah guilt, and just like has been through so much, and is just like, especially in it's like all the drama with his dad.
Yeah, his dad bounced.
But then his dad was like a watercolorist, and like this one time his dad, and I feel like he, throughout the book, he gives like forgiveness, I think, to his parents at the end of the book, because he's like, that's the only way I can move on. But I feel like these reflections that he's like, as when he's telling Smokey D. Fontaine, where he's like, see what my like mom or dad said there, like they weren't like, how are you? Like, I miss you. They were like, do you have a lawyer?
Yeah.
Or just
No, I think Smokey is like helping like elucidate those points for him. Just be like, and this was that another moment where it's like the parent could have said something to show that they cared, and then they didn't. And there was like very few moments where they did.
This time that his dad like says he wants to see him, and he shows up to like one of his like rap battles, and it's like one of the more like official shows he's having. He's like looks at this guy, and he was wearing leg warmers. DMX and DMX is like, I'm talking multiple pairs of leg warmers, red corduroy pants, red corduroy shirt with elbow patches. He was like, no, this cannot, like, just like this Alternatian is not my dad. And then the dad does just ask him, like, do you have a lawyer? I think his dad is trying to give him like fatherly advice to make sure he's not getting like screwed over by record execs and stuff like that.
Vultures.
But DMX is a little bit just like, why not like a how are you, or like an I miss you,
hello,
versus kind of just like this fake. It's very, I know you didn't watch the second season of Cheer, but just like this girl on Cheer, her dad, who was like, it's the girl from Boston, and her dad was like arrested for rape, and he's finally out of jail, and he's calling her and like trying to get her an agent, and she's kind of just like, I'm actually not trying to hear your random advice right now because you were in jail for rape my whole life.
Wow, that sounds intense. Yeah, I need to finish watching that Netflix original series, Cheer. Yeah, I mean, parent relations are hard. And it can be tough to connect with your child. And then there's always, I mean, I feel like we've seen this also in a lot. It's like very Janice Dickinson, and then it's like, and then you're suspicious of the parent when they kind of like come back when you start to get a little bit of heat on you, and then all of a sudden you're cool, and now your parent wants to talk, and it's a little like you're being
right.
fake.
I mean, yeah, you don't like trust it. Another thing of his like relationship after the Connecticut girl, like we're to assume there are a lot of like random girls, but then
he does. I mean, because he moves to New Rochelle, he's being like, then I was getting pussy like regularly, and it sounds like there was always just like a steady stream of pussy.
Right, I know. But then he's like, I feel like is very like trying to like respect his wife, because he's like not bragging about it so much in an Anthony Kiedis way. You know what I mean?
He knows his wife is reading this. That's the vibe of
so
this book,
like,
is my wife did read this.
Because then he's like, my favorite thing to do is just to watch movies and drink iced tea with my wife.
Celebrity Book Club.
I want to talk about this part when he had gotten one of his songs on WBLS, one of my favorite radio stations, 107.5. But he's like, okay, I need to get it on Hot 97. And so he sees Wendy Williams' car double parked. Because, back then it wasn't just TikTok, okay? You had a tape and you had to give it to someone.
No, it was really IRL. I mean, the running around, the records. I mean, people were pressing mixtapes to vinyl.
I saw Wendy Williams walking out. Wendy was the biggest female personality on the station. She had a primetime slot, and because of all the Howard Stern gossiping she did about everybody in hip-hop, she was becoming one of the most known and most hated radio people on the East Coast. She had double parked, but now the car that was next to the curb had pulled off, so she was running to get her joint out of the middle of the street. All right, give me one. She told Wall in a hurry. Wendy wasn't the best person to give Can't Touch Me Kid to. She wasn't Ed Lover or a mix show DJ like Red Alert or Funkmaster Flex, but at least she would hear it and hopefully talk about it. As I watched her drive away, I felt like Wall and I had accomplished something. Then I saw something that I couldn't believe. There, lying on the ground, was the record Wall had just given her. That fucking bitch dropped my single on the street. I was crushed.
Wendy was like, absolutely not. I don't have time for this.
This is not. Yeah.
Obsessed with her.
Throwing this huge vinyl out on the street. I guess we haven't really touched base about how Sherry Shepherd is replacing Wendy Williams.
Yeah, and let's definitely loop back offline about that.
Yeah.
And all I can say is that I hope it's for
that.
Wendy's best.
Yes, I do think Wendy probably needs Wendy a break. But I hope she returns with.
Just quick sidebar. Do you remember the part where he called one of his teachers a flat ass coffee drinking bitch? When he's like 16 and she's yelling at him for something. I just like the most accurate like insult to law that a teacher, because teachers are so drinking coffee.
Have flat ass that are just like always drinking like weak coffee, and you're like, damn, that's all you do.
Weak ass teacher's lounge coffee, bitch. Like, especially as a kid, you're always just like, what is up with grown-ups and coffee?
Okay, crazy question. When did you start drinking coffee?
Thank you for asking. It was actually, I was not like till I was like 25. It was kind of like post
25.
Yeah, it was like post my politics.
That's also
career.
when you started jerking off as well.
Yes, it was. I think it was actually really because when I became freelancer, and it was always like, I don't need it. Like, I don't want that. Like, I don't need the energy. You know, it's like I have enough natural energy coursing through my young 20s veins. And I also just thought that like coffee was for grown-ups and did taste bitter and gross.
Right. You're like, I need something sweet.
Well, I wasn't even like wanting something sweet. I just literally just like, actually, wait, I would have like ocean spray crayon in the morning and like a bagel.
Big ocean spray. You're in like FIDE opening up this ocean spray.
Well, that's okay. That's just like me being real. And then I think like once I started being freelancer, I was like addicted to like, because freelancing is about like pretending, you know what I mean? And coffee is the ultimate prop. So I kind of became more like, I need somebody give me my coffee so I can write this email. And
it's a chance to go out. I mean, chance to leave.
Chance to leave the old apartment.
Leave the old house. Well, and especially because our apartment in our early 20s was ridden with bed bugs, so we needed a chance.
We needed every excuse we could to leave.
I mean, I feel like my relationship with coffee is fully also just like fake. Like all I wanted to do was to be like a beat poet drinking coffee. So be an adult, you know what I mean? Just
so wait, how old were you? You were 14. You were wearing.
I started getting iced cappuccinos from the White Hen Pantry in high school that were just like pure sugar, and so like original jangling iced coffee, gay panic, and then
your memoir is like more than anything, I wanted to be an adult,
and I wanted to go to Dunkin'. Like all I wanted was grown up stuff, just like coffees, iced coffees, coffee in diners. You know, for some people like DMX, grew up too early.
He really did. He really did. Lot of trauma, as we mentioned. Okay, wait. Do you remember the part where he was like, talking about some of his lyrics, and he was like, wait, I'm just gonna find the. He's talking about "It's Dark and Hell is Hot," which was like his first big album off of Def Jam. He goes, and while I got a lot of heat for my lyrics on X's Coming, and then in parentheses the lyrics. If you got a daughter older than 15, I'm a rape her. Those critics seem to forget that I had a prayer on the album as well. Just like actually back it up, critics. Okay. Oh yeah. So I said I would rape your 15-year-old daughter. Yeah, there's also prayer. And I am a man of God. Wait, but then the next line is, ironically, a woman actually did charge me with rape that summer. Oh. Purely a case of mistaken identity. I wasn't even at the party where the alleged assault took place. You just hear the lawyers being like, alleged.
Okay, that's what I was saying. It was like, and that's right before when he finally gets married to his longtime wife, and he's like, totally ironically, as featured in the Alanis Morissette song, "Woman Accused Me of Rape," was not there. Just let's slide that in, which is...
One of life's classic little ironies.
Was wondering, I mean, hip hop historians, get at me if I'm wrong, but here are some lyrics where I'm like, was he the originator of making Sesame Street badass and kind of like using Sesame Street lyrics to like a lot of clothing of like having Oscar the Grouch with like a gold chain and like, you know.
Do you have the lyric that you're referencing?
I have the lyric. Yeah, he's like, yo, I have this dream that I've been having a lot, which that's so me. I've been
so
having a
cute
dream.
to be like, I've been having a dream that I've been having. You're always like, I'm remembering a memory.
That Sesame Street turned into a crack spot. All of them dead, not a sound to be heard from the monster, the Count, the Grouch, or Big Bird. Anyway, just I wonder if he is the originator of like making
of Sesame stuff.
Like badass Sesame Street stuff.
I mean, listen, it's, Sesame Street, they're street. It's in the name.
They are street.
They were raised on these streets. I like the part where he talks about how like he was not sort of like in the fashionable type of man that ladies wanted in the 80s, because like girls wanted to fuck like Prince, and so they wanted like they wanted to fuck like Latin guys or guys with like green eyes or like puffy ass collars and like sort of more like feminine men, and he was just like, sorry, like.
But even later, I feel like he is a little more like he does get like cool Rough Riders jerseys and like gets cool leather jackets. But like he is more about being like shirtless with pants.
Yeah, which is extremely hot.
And he like talks about all these other rappers that have like gorgeous leather jackets. And he's like, that wasn't really me. Like my thing was just like chain, shirtless, sweatpants.
Which is, well, he also, he was like, he couldn't afford clothes a lot. And then he was always like stealing shearling jackets. Like that was a big thing, but then he would like sell it to like get drugs. We should talk about the drug stuff briefly, just because it's obviously important to his story, and he did die of a drug overdose,
cocaine induced heart attack,
right? And he talks like he talks very briefly in his teens about like getting introduced to drugs and then like wanting to do them more and more, and like smoking crack laced pot, and it's like, and then like this period where he was just like super like kind of cracked out on the street, and he was like embarrassed to like run into his sister because he like felt like he was like really losing it, but like he kind of like, I don't know, then he kind of moves on from that section, and it's briefly mentioned, but it doesn't like come back as like a demon that's haunting him, I guess.
No, I know. And I was wondering about that because I feel like it does come back. But I think what happens is like, right, he's smoking weed and then does like get more like hooked on crack and like
so
gets out of it.
Goes to show that weed is a gateway drug.
It is. Coffee, then weed.
Coffee, then weed.
Together.
Then coffee and weed together. Then coffee laced weed. And then you're dead. So,
but also it's like,
do be careful. Stick to CBD flavored seltzer.
Absolutely. Know who you're getting it from.
Know who you're getting your like day trip hemp infused seltzer from.
Know the deli you're buying Recess CBD seltzer
your
from.
Acai pomegranate Recess. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to mention. Oh, he did have asthma as a child, which of course I related to as a sufferer of asthma. Asthma is also a big issue in urban communities because of air quality and pollution. And as someone who suffered, it is an undiscussed ailment, under-discussed ailment, I think, for a lot of kids. And, it's often seen as, you're seen as a bitch-ass little pussy if you're coughing. If you can't run the half-mile road race with the other kindergartners because you need to get your nebulizer.
Or a bitch ass if you have a inhaler.
Right.
I mean, I'm guilty of that. I will say, I thought
you were always making fun of people
who had
like
inhalers were little bitches. But yet I still can't like run without getting out of breath. So
right. And who's laughing now? And now I can run a mile on the treadmill and then stop.
And I can run a few blocks, stop, pick up again, stop. Okay, I was also just one more thing I was wrong. He does talk about belly. I forgot this part where he like, this is also again him like being so like my wife is reading this is like he had a sex scene, so he told his wife to stay home that day. And also, because I want to get into how what are they called? Intimacy advisors on movies. And he is coordinating top stuff. He's coordinating the sex scene.
DMX is being the intimacy coordinator, you're saying?
Yeah, he's like, okay, so this is what's gonna happen. They were like, they want me to fuck you from behind. I'm gonna do a few pumps. Then I'm like lifting up your left leg. Then I'm gonna flip you over.
Take all the romance out of it, right? Hello. That's so like anytime an actor is talking about a sex scene, they're like, here's the thing most people don't realize. Shooting a sex scene is incredibly unsexy.
It's totally, all these people are watching.
70 people on
You're
crew
cold.
watching. You're so cold. You're wrapped in so many sheets. You have to do 10 takes. It's the least erotic thing on the planet.
And then the only other thing I wanted to bring up, which I was just like his determination of like rapping and how beautiful it was like when he gets like beaten almost to death and he gets his jaw wired shut for 3 months.
Wait, and of course Kanye West also had his jaw wired shut.
And friend of the pod, Alex Schmidt.
And friend of the pod, Ann Coulter also had her jaw wired shut after surgery. Yeah.
Talk about a hip-hop supergroup. Kanye, DMX, Alex.
Friend of the pod, Alex Schmidt, and artist Body Confidence, and Ann Coulter. Love to see what they'd come up with in the studio.
In heaven. Anyway, he still he starts to rap and his jaw is hurting, but he's like, I need to push through and like do this battle. Like, post the jaw.
No, just like you podcasting after your top surgery. I mean, warrior status.
Little me sliding up in this rolling chair, adjusting this soundproofing folder, putting up curtains.
Yeah. No.
It's basically the same thing.
Truly iconic. Let's make you an honorary Rough Rider.
Celebrity Book Club.
Segments.
What does she eat? What does she wear? How does she live?
What does she eat?
What does she eat? He actually really, I mean, it is
He's
a
kind
little
of
more,
Anno, and I'm obsessed with it. Can I just say? He I feel like he's thin. I mean, he is being like sort of poor to the boots and is always like, I was hungry and like didn't have food.
And we're like fighting over cereal.
And we're fighting over cereal and he's like stealing cereal from his like roommates' cabins, like at the group home.
And he's like, those were the best meals we had. But it's not, I feel like when he starts to get really successful and like, he's a little more just like, oh, can I get a Heineken? In his like Phoenix flashbacks, like he's being more Heineken.
Yeah.
He's less like, oh yeah, then we went to Ruth's Chris's and like he's not being so like with Puff Daddy. I feel like going and getting such a tuna tower.
No, I don't think it's an ahi tower. I mean, I wonder if it's just like simple steak, like one bite for me, one bite for my dog, and he's just sharing a steak with his dog.
Well, that was so cute. He was like, me and Boomer shared literally everything.
Yeah, it's really adorable. I mean, vegetables. I don't think he was seeing a lot of vegetables in his childhood, but I'm like, what were, does he fucks with a salad? Like, it's cut to 2010, you're DMX. It's the middle of the day. Are you having a Caesar? Am I crazy?
I think he is. I think he's a little more Cobb, actually.
Okay. We want like a few more food groups.
Hard-boiled egg, turkey. Like, it's more protein. Like, I could see some Cobbs or Caesars being sent to the studio.
I guess you're right. If it's food being sent to the studio, it's maybe not a Caesar. And that's going to be wet with all the equipment.
I mean, not that a Cobb also can't be wet as well, but...
But a Caesar just sort of has to be wet at the end of the day.
Yeah, I do think it's like a meatloaf steak, maybe like a turkey club.
Okay. It's always protein-based.
But I also bet he like now and then... will like fuck with the pasta, but rarely. Like I could see him being like, that actually makes me gassy. No.
Yeah, that's tracking for me. Because he's not so coffee.
No, he's not coffee.
And he's not so dairy. And he's not being so shrimp Alfredo. And again, this is where he's not that Ruth's Chris's.
Yeah, I think it's a little more like Heineken steak.
Okay, what does he wear? Well, he's obsessed with hoodies. I'll tell you that right now. I feel like his whole, like, the amount of times the word hoodie appears in this book is maybe like 100 times, where he's talking about like what he wore. And it's like, that's his comfort space And like obviously the hoodies became more expensive as time went on.
Okay, but then he's wearing this like amazing, almost like overall-esque outfit here. This Fat Farm
That
piece.
Fat Farm. Yeah, that's a cool.
that I
that's
think
a cool
is really
piece.
cool.
I mean, that's also just like a large sort of like late 90s, like windbreaker material, like jumpsuit kind of thing.
It's in jumpsuit, camo. I feel like, no, but then he's doing a lot of overalls. I mean, his thing is like, the goal is like big chain.
Yeah. I mean,
tank
those are
top,
styled
but I
photo
mean-
shoots. And I do think there's like, I appreciate that there is a homoeroticism to his shoots and his sexuality in a way that, not necessarily all of the rappers were doing at this time.
Well, he is not afraid of showing some skin. He's very shirtless.
Yeah, but even in the way,
homoerotic in a way.
But I'm saying like even that like that overall pic, like this isn't just like, oh, you're wearing a beater. Like this is like an overall to me is way like gayer and more sexual in this way because it's like the reference is not just like, oh, I'm at home. Like the reference is like, I am like this fashion worker and it's like a little bit loose and it's like, and like you might see the nipple but then you're not fully seeing the nipple. Like just shirt off is just kind of like not necessarily erotic in the same way as an overall is.
I think it might, and sorry, just to stand for my man DMX here, Rip, I don't think he'd want you be calling him gay on this pod.
Well, I'm allowed to interpret his fashion choices however I choose.
Look. We are free here in America, okay? I don't think those overalls and t-shirts is homoerotic. I think that's like a little more just evoking general workwear and kind of being...
I think that anytime that you're showing a nipple and it's not just because you're shirtless, that is more erotic than just being shirtless. Sorry.
I'm saying erotic. I guess I'm like...
It's intentional.
It is intentional. I guess I'm just saying like I don't think he's trying to attract men there with a homoeroticism. I think he's celebrating just his straight sexuality with showing one nipple.
So you're saying a firehouse is not homoerotic? There's nothing homoerotic about that because they all have wives?
A firehouse is very homoerotic because they cook together every single night.
Right. So I think it's
And
evoking
all work out
firehouse culture,
together.
in which case there's a homoeroticism there.
I guess here he's wearing like goggles. I think he's just kind of like playing with a little more streetwear pieces than being homoerotic. And I'll die on this hill of overalls.
I guess
I think there is this thing of like overalls have gotten gayer over time because like gays are being.
I'm not
like,
talking
"Let
about the
me be this farmer."
contemporary reference of overalls. I'm talking about at this moment in time, that structure to the overalls, that suggestion of the nipple. There is something more playful there that you're just going to have to deal with.
This photo is gayer to me, where the overalls are just completely undone, and he's
Wait, can
kind
you
of
show it to the
puffing
camera?
out the chest. Yeah, this to me is a gayer photo.
Huh. Yeah, I see what you mean because, well, the zipper coming down there with the...
It's like the
the
fly
waistband.
unzipped.
And yet, I do think one overall on is still a little bit gayer.
There's this scene where someone...
Because also that evokes
just-
like a purse, and that's gay.
Okay, having one...
One
oh,
strap is
it's
evoking
one
purse,
strap.
bitch.
Well, I guess another gay thing is like the first thing he does is like get dog collars made, which is very fetish.
Oh, yeah. It's like I'm getting
And then
fancy
and then
collars from my
one
boys.
I still do think his big overall is straight, but then this is another gay moment where he's like he had just gotten his new Rough Rider jerseys and he's like some guy spills a drink on him and he's like not just any drink, like a fruity like mango, just like a fruity cocktail, and he's like seriously.
Oh, and it's so colored
Fruity
and it's so
cocktail,
stained.
yeah. And I will bring up fruity cocktails in the VIP lounge because I have something to say about them.
Oh, did you have fruity cocktails at the podcast conference that you went to?
And it was the only option.
Oh, because it was the audible.com sponsored cocktail.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I really can't wait to hear about this in the VIP lounge.
Okay, how does she live?
How does she live? I mean, what's cool is he's like a hometown girl and he's like still coming back to Yonkers after all this time. And like, that's just like where he feels comfy.
Yeah, with his wife. I mean, that is pretty cool. He dreamed of this. How often does that happen? You see this hot chick in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
You're young, and then you end up marrying her, you know?
God, if only I'd married my next door neighbor, Paulina Metropolis. Think where I'd be now.
Exactly. You saw her in her Greek robe. And then she shows up one day and you just have to try really hard, but you finally do marry her.
Finally marry, convince her mom that I'm right.
Yeah, how does he live? I mean, I want to say it's big sectional. It's comfy.
Yeah.
He's comfy boots.
Not getting a ton of interior design choices, but maybe there's like so much framed dog photography, like Swarovski encrusted dog statues, maybe.
I think it's more that and like framed like records and like crazy dog sculptures versus having like such a basket of like weird dog toys that are like fake ducks and stuff.
I don't think he is some like Ditmas podcaster couple with their basket full of like bespoke ass Chewy.com toys. These plugs are playing with like the bodies of cats they've murdered.
Yeah. It is crazy what he described. And he's like, here's the thing about raccoons. And he's like really going through the process. And he's like, when they are murdered, their eyes do bug out a lot.
He's like, the thing about a raccoon is they're kind of big, but they're the same weight as a really large cat. So for my pets, like they could take either one.
I do think raccoons are like really cute, like when you see them up close, and then you kind of like there are parts of them that I find really cute. And like a little part of me is like, okay,
right,
I wish
but
I
we
could
discriminate against
you.
them because they eat garbage.
Well, aren't they like mean too? Or is that just a stereotype?
I think that's a stereotype because they come out at night and we're we're so anti like nocturnal creatures, like the same way that we're anti like people who are in the nightlife industry because they're nocturnal and we assume that they're like ill behaved and they're miscreants. And
this is now a raccoon pod.
Yes, and like raccoons are clubbers and they are women of the night and like they need to be respected.
Right, and they're like curvy and they have these like tiny hands but like big stomachs.
So like clever to be tiny and big stomach. No, the tiny hands are cute.
I just remember I walked by this one that was like eating out of the trash and I was like, damn, okay.
Right.
You're fit. Sexy.
They're freakins.
So yeah, I do think it is like gorgeous custom crystal dog sculptures around the house and then like framed records and I think it's like he is so scrapbook. I feel like he is a little maybe like framing some of his lyrics on.
But would he frame his lyrics or would he just like, or would it be like, okay, like there's like photos of family. I mean, this is pretty much like in everyone's house and that's not that like wild.
So photos of family?
Wild of me to conjecture. But maybe it's more like there's like a beautiful, like a note that like that MC of the like Yonkers like
Big Daddy Kane
Fest gave him in 1996, and it's like the framed note. Ephemera.
I see that.
Framed ephemera.
Right. Framed note. I was going through like some of his older original tracks, and it is interesting to hear his more just like early 90s, totally old school rap style, like pre when he became like so Give a Dog a Bone, like Rough Rider. I feel like it was softer, but
right. Yeah, he hadn't found his voice yet.
He was, it was less growl. But I think that was him like being like, oh, I should probably like sound like, you know, these older rappers, and he hadn't found like his full dog self yet. You know, in the way that we started sounding like Mark Maron at first when we started podding. Okay, who are you in the book? This part, do I have it? This is so me. I had stolen some Timbs I was wearing that night, and they were a few sizes too big for my feet. To make them fit, I balled up some sweat socks and stuffed them in the front of each boot. She didn't have to see that because I didn't walk that night.
Wait, I thought of you also at this. This is so you at Savor. It's like buying Timbs that are too big. You're like, it's fine, they fit.
It's fun just being like, I'm hoping to like wear them to impress a girl, but like wearing them to an event. So like hopefully I will just kind of have to sit or stand and not really like clomp around.
Yeah, no, your foot dysmorphia rages on.
always wearing shoes too big. So in that sense, I am X.
Yeah. Who am I? Am I like one of the kids at one of the group homes who got made fun of for his big nose as a kid?
I mean, I saw some parts of, X and You where, I feel like you have a dream and you're just going to go after it.
Dog with a bone. Yeah.
Yeah, a dog with a bone.
That's generous, I suppose. I guess I feel like, I thought I do find him inspiring as a figure. I wasn't necessarily.
I wouldn't say you're fully X.
Yeah. Listen, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I've been to jail, been arrested 4 times, spent the night in jail twice. I felt the cold steel of handcuffs on my thin, delicate little wrists. And, God damn it if I didn't escape when I had the chance. So in that sense, I also didn't relate to him because I was just like, well, I never sort of broke out of jail and that sounded cool.
Right.
And I kind of was like...
You should have, in the day you spent there, you should have ran away.
I should have broke out of the holding facility in Red Hook. Yeah, I don't know. I was just like, am I X? Am I the lesbian aunt having parties and being like, don't come into my room?
I do think we are the lesbians at his aunt's house.
Yes. Okay. We are the lesbians having crazy parties.
Crazy times in the 90s.
Old school. Very much stay tuned for the VIP lounge coming up right the fuck now, where we are going to get into Lily's first big conference / summit, which I really can't wait to hear about.
You're really going to want to listen, no pun intended, because it was a podcast summit.
Lanyards, drinks, Q&A sessions, seated panels, standing room only panels, wristbands.
Coat check.
I'm on the fucking edge of my
similar to a
goddamn
DMX
seat.
concert, basically.
You had a battle,
Okay.
yes?
Yeah, no, it was basically a rap battle.
You rap battled with an associate producer
Lindsay.
for Radio Lab, and shit went all the way down. And you'll hear about it right now in the VIP lounge. And for those of you who don't
Rough.
sorry losers, but for those of you who do, we'll see you now.
Yeah.
Best.
Welcome to the VIP lounge. That's right. Here we are again, still talking, still alive, still podcasting.
Still kicking, and we are reporting live after the event of the year. Of course, I am not talking about Putin's invasion of the Ukraine. I'm talking about Lily Murata's invasion of the White Hotel in downtown Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, so the White Hotel is actually in Williamsburg.
And that is what I meant. Thank you.
Wow, sad. Have you ever even been to the White?
Yeah. I have been to the Wife, and I've stayed there, and I've fucked a guy
Totally.
there.
Awesome. Yeah, totally. Did that happen in your dreams?
Okay, so let's just fill our listeners in. So you went to. I heard a rumor about this summit, and I was like, wait a minute, there's a summit happening, but then I was going to be out of town. I was like, well, Lily will go, but I didn't really realize like this was a full up summit. Like every joke I've ever wanted to make about a summit like this was
a summit.
like.
No, this was amazing opportunity brought to us by one of our producers, and I feel like we both were like, I also assumed it was going to be on Zoom, and then I like looked it up and I was like, hold on, it's at the White Hotel. Like, wait a second, there's free lunch. And then I was like, wait a second. Chuck D, hip hop legend, Public Enemy is going to be there.
Oh, damn.
And then I was like, Radio Lab is going to be there. This is a full ass summit.
And that was just a taste of the VIP lounge. Subscribe on patreon.com/CBCthepod to get more content like that every single week for only $5 a month. Again, that's patreon.com/CBCthepod. For $5 a month, you get access to the VIP lounge every single week. That's more Stephen and Lily every single week for only $5 a month. VIP, subscribe.
Study Book Club is presented by Prologue Projects. The show is produced by Dog Megmer Knight with editorial support from
Poundmaster Leon Nafok, Andrew Parsons, and Madeline Kaplan. Our production manager, meow, is Percia Berlin. Original theme song by Stephen Phillips Horse. His rhymes fucking blow. Fuck your mother. Artwork by Teddy Blanks and Chips and Wine. Ruff, ruff, ruff. Follow us on Twitter at CBC The Pod. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Leave a review in my cage. And don't forget to tell your dogs about us.